Here we're going to find the inverse of the function f of x equals 25 over x squared with the domain restricted to x greater than 0. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to replace f of x with y so that I have an equation in two variables. So y equals 25 over x squared. I'm going to note that x is greater than 0, but also, since y equals 25 over x squared, y will be greater than 0. So both the domain and the range are greater than 0, and the same will be true for the inverse function. Now, because we're going to have both f and f inverse in this solution, I'm going to label this equation as being the equation for f. So now I'm going to continue, and I'm going to solve the equation for x instead of for y, because every equation could be solved either for x or for y. So I'm going to take the original equation and solve it for x. To do that, I'll clear the fraction first of all to get yx squared equals 25, or x squared equals 25 over y, and then the square root of x squared equals the square root of 25 over y. This time I do not write plus or minus because we know that the x itself is a positive number. And so we're going to get x equals 5 over the square root of y. And now the last steps involve the inverse function. First of all, we now interchange x for y in the equation where we solved for x. And so we have y equals 5 over the square root of x. That is the inverse function. And lastly, we replace y with the notation f inverse of x. So we get f inverse of x equals 5 over the square root of x. So the place where we're actually taking the inverse is right here when we interchanged the x and y. However, some of you will have learned to do that a little bit differently. Some of you will move immediately. So this is an alternative which is also correct. Some of you will move immediately from the equation of f, which is y equals 25 over x squared, to the equation of f inverse. So at the beginning, interchanging the x and the y. I'm sorry, I shouldn't have a square there. So 25 over y squared. Then we rewrite this equation by isolating the y. So we multiply both sides by y squared, divide by x, take the square root of both sides, no plus or minus because y is positive, so y equals 5 over the square root of x. And then lastly, we replace the y with f inverse of x. So we get the same result on both sides, but there's two ways of doing it. In the second method, it was right up at the beginning when we changed from f to f inverse. Both of these methods are acceptable. Use whichever one you feel most comfortable with.